What's up, ladies and gents? Jacob Wheeler here. I've been sort of keeping something from you for the last 3 or 4 months, and now it's getting the time to officially announce 2 of my favorite brand new shapes from Googan Baits. Number 1, new Rattlin Ned. Have you heard about the Ned rig? You guys have seen it day in and day out. What is different about the Googan Baits Rattlin Ned? First off, it's in the name, the rattle. Okay, Rattlin Ned has a rattle in it. So when you pull it out, it has the clamshell packaging. I actually used one of these right here, caught a few fish on it in one of the videos. You pull this thing out and it's a very soft plastic. You know, this is the smelt color. It's very soft, has a lot of action for being a small, almost 3-inch Ned style bait. But in the very end of it, the rattle. And rattles have been a huge deal for years. You've seen them in jigs, you've seen them in crankbaits, you've seen them all over, but yet you don't see it a whole lot in soft plastic. So this is actually a rattle inside of, it's basically a little hole they have, and they basically, I guess, poured it inside of that. Of course, special scented plastic. And what am I gonna rig this with? I'll show you. Let me grab my Ned rig box. Got them real quick right here. And I'll just pull out, a 1/16 ounce works best for me. 1/16, 1/8, depending on how deep you're gonna fish it. This is a BMC half moon head. And this little weedless head right here. We're gonna rig him up. Bada bing, bada boom. And there you go. Might even rig him up a little bit different because I wanna put a little bit more. That's the one thing. You want to make sure it's as straight as can be. There you have it. That's going to be a little weedless, little Ned rig. 1/8, 3/16. This is actually a 16. 3/16 if I'm deeper than 10 feet, which I do throw this out offshore. 16th when I'm shallower than 5 or 6 feet, or if I'm fishing in grass. But that dude right there is going to get to work for sure. I'm going to tie this on here. I'm going to show you how I fish this bait real quick. I'm probably going to use a spinner rod on this one. This is my 7-foot medium action. 7-foot medium action is what I prefer throwing a Ned rig. Okay. This is 8-pound. Suffix fluorocarbon. It's the new advanced fluorocarbon that has just come out as well. Really strong, very durable, very abrasion resistant. Getting ready to roll, and let's make a cast with this thing. Okay, so the big thing with that Rattlin Ned in this sort of shape is the fact that it gets a lot of bite. You've seen it day in and day out, but the key with it for me is having that right setup and fishing it the right way. If I'm fishing up shallow, right now we're in a little pocket and there's a little bit of grass, and I'll just sit here and I'll let it fall, get it down to the bottom, and I'll just sort of pop him up. You gotta imagine it's like a little minnow is all that thing is. Just a little minnow popping around, bumping around, snapping him around. That's all this thing's imitating a lot of times. It could be like a little bug or a little insect. Thinking about this, like, what do you think the bass think that little baby, worm is? But what's crazy about this thing is for smallmouth, it is really, really popular. You see it a lot whenever you go up north and you fish big tournaments. It's for smallmouth because you can even catch big ones on this thing. Smaller presentation, smaller baits, finesse tactics have always been, huge for smallmouth. But you forget about the largemouth, and so I'm gonna fish this at 16th, more around grass. I'm gonna use an 1/8. More around like steeper banks, like rock, riprap, or like steeper, I would say even like bluff wall type banks. And then I'm gonna use a little bit even bigger, 3/16 or 1/4 on those deeper offshore places, 10 to 20, even 30 foot of water. This bait works really well, and also works really well for spotted bass. The one thing, this is the sneaker that you guys don't know about. See, I've been playing with this for a little while. So say I don't want a rattle in this bait. All I have to do is push on that rattle right there, push it out that little hole, bing, take the rattle out, and now I have a Rattlin-less Ned. Okay, there's times when the fish are very fickle, this can help. But also, what that does is makes this bait even more buoyant. So there's times that I'll keep the rattle inside, and then there's times that I'll take the rattle out. And that's just dependent on the place that you're fishing. Definitely something that's a little bit different, and it's very unique. The Googan Baits Rattlin Ned is sure to catch a few fish this year. Already has done a lot for me, and we'll have a fish catching video here to come, but I wanted to have you guys see it's the first look at the all brand new Googan Baits Rattlin Ned. The other bait that is coming out from Googan Baits this year that I'm excited about is the Lunker Log. So this is actually the bait that you guys seen in the weight videos that I was trying to hide from you. I was throwing the baby bass color up underneath the boat docks, underneath of the deeper boat docks, and actually won stage 7 and ended up getting 5th place in the Table Rock event in stage 6. So great bait, but it's that stick type bait. We'll dive into a little bit more what makes this bait a little bit different. I've obviously used a couple of them right here. This is just a 5-inch. I believe they're coming in a 5 and a 6-inch size. So you're gonna have one for a little bit bigger profile, and then a 5-inch is the standard size, and a stick worm type bait. Now, white is not always the most thrown color, but I do throw white a decent amount. I throw it up shallow when the fish are spawning or when they're on shad or bait, and I use it sort of keeping up high in the water column. First off, when you grab that Lunker Log out of the package, smell it. There's tons of salt in this thing. If you push on this thing, lots of salt. And the first thing that we're gonna do, grab one of these a little bit larger O-rings. I'm gonna put them on here. That way it sort of just keeps your bait. I'm gonna use a little VMC O-ring tool. There's a lot of them out there, but this one right here is a little bit bigger, so we don't lose it. A little bit bigger O-ring, so I can just slide it on. Spinning rod, 8-pound Suffix nano braid, 8-pound suffixed advanced fluorocarbon, and then I'm just gonna stick him to where my hook on that size 2 VMC Neko hook, I'm going to stick him to where he's pointed towards the tail. That is a typical way to rig a wacky worm. Now, wacky style is probably my favorite way to fish this here, this Lunker Log, but it is not limited to just that. Texas rigging it in brush piles, phenomenal. Fishing it weightless around trees with like a 4/0 hook. You can do so many different things with this. And then one of my other favorite ways to catch them, and this is how I caught them at Table Rock, is actually nail weighting. And let me grab one of these out and show you what I'm doing. VMC nail weight. And nail weighting this worm to where I could fish it a little bit deeper. I was actually catching them in 10 to close to like 10 to 20 feet of water. They're suspended, a lot of them were. So this is actually a 3/32, and there you go. So now you can fish this bait. Now remember this, when you're nail weighting the Lunker Log, always remember that when you put an O-ring on there, you want your hook faced upward away from your weight. And what this is gonna allow us to do is you're going to be able to hook up way better, because you gotta imagine that bait's falling like this. So when that fish comes over there and he grabs it, a lot of times he'll grab it and he has that hook pointed upward. And he grabs it and you hook him in the top of the mouth a lot better than you will if you have it pointed down. I've seen this. This is from experience. This is from experience. I've lost some fish because I've had my hooks pointed downward when I'm throwing that Neko style, Neko weighted, worms, and especially, especially when you're using smaller hooks, because you need all that you can get. So that is right here a Neko weight. But we're gonna take this weight out here. I'm gonna show you one of my favorite ways to throw this color Lunker Log, and that is up shallow. So let's go check it out. I'm going to show you guys this technique. It's so much fun. Hopefully we can get a bite, but if not, at least you're going to see what's up with this thing. But even before I make a cast and show you what I like to do with this white colored Lunker Log, let's talk about the action of this bait. Now, I don't know if we can see it. I'm gonna drop it in here, and we all know the biggest thing with a stick worm, weightless, is its shimmy. You have that shimmy, and you need to have a worm that shimmies. So if this one doesn't shimmy, then we have an issue, because I'm not saying we'll catch them, but we're gonna find out. So here we go. We're gonna drop them in. Shimmy's good. Okay, that's a good deal. You can see it shimmying all the way down. That's the key. And it's not a hard shimmy, it's just it's almost like a dying shad or a dying minnow or whatever, a dying bait fish. That's the key. And that is something that is so important when you're throwing a stick worm. If you pick one up and you throw it out there, it doesn't shimmy, then you probably need to be switching to a different stick worm. So without further ado, we're gonna go down through here real quick to show you guys. This is like one of my favorite techniques in the pre-spawn, and spawn mostly. Some of the fish are pushing up. Water temperatures being in the 60s, 70s. But even in the summertime, I'll throw this worm up here to like lay downs, little places. And normally when you're throwing a wacky worm, you let it sink. You just cast it out there, let it sink. But what I do is I keep this bait up really high. So it's a visual way to fish the Lunker Log, okay? So, and I'll throw it next to some of this stuff. Now this is also something that's really good in the fall. I'm gonna keep my rod tip up high, and I'm gonna keep it to where I can actually see that bait. This will work with green pumpkin or watermelons and stuff like that, but it's way better when you can have, and you actually can see it, because then you can see how that bait is acting and how it's working. You're wanting to make sure that bait's horizontal. If it's vertical, meaning up and down, where the tail's down or the tail's up, and it's vertical, it's not in the correct way of how I want it. So I'm not gonna nail weight this worm when I'm utilizing or using this technique. I'm just sort of using it as a way to get those fish to show themselves, and those fish that it's sort of like a floating worm type technique. And if you guys watched Lunker's video, actually it was Lake Fork and I had the Cheeto worm video. Oh, there's one. Oh, I broke him off. Son of a gun. Okay, so real talk. I told Brody, I said my FG knot was coming unraveled. And I told Brody, I said, well, you know, we could probably just go up here and show you guys how to work this thing. Literally just have like a 2-pounder, grab it, set the hook and break him off. Gosh dang it, unbelievable. Obviously the Lunker Log works, that technique works. And there's the first look, introducing 2 of my favorite new shapes from Googan Baits. Phenomenal stuff, make sure to check them out.